Start the recording. All right, welcome everyone to our every Wednesday Attraction in Action Mastermind, where you show up because you want to improve your knowledge, your skills, your mindset, and most importantly, your habits around attracting agents to your revenue share organization. Now, you could go out and list 40 properties this year, and you're going to make some income. Yet that income is short-lived, is it not? I mean, you're going to spend that money, no doubt about that. Where you go out and list 40 agents this year or next year, well, that's residual. That's passive income. That's going to show up whether you produce or not. Quite frankly, it's the only thing that I've discovered that has increased my freedom and my income at exactly the same time. So I've got a very special guest today. His name is Shon Sturrock. He's crushing it with building revenue share. And he's just going to pour into you guys today. He's going to add value to you. He's going to improve your knowledge, your skills around attracting agents. So Shon, welcome to the call, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Shon?
I'm phenomenal. Hey, real quick, why don't you give us the quick story? I mean, how'd you get into real estate? How long ago? What was the production like? What's the revenue share looking like? I mean, how large is the organization now? How many in your front line? All of those things. If you could kind of wrap that up into a nice little package for us, that would be fantastic.
Would love to. Well, first of all, thank you for even inviting me to be on here. This is, I'm very grateful to even be doing something like this, yet I'm very humble at the same time, Shon. I've surrounded myself now as I look at this group continuing to grow. I've just surrounded myself with so much talent that continues to inspire and motivate me to move forward. But if I go back to how I first got started, I was a brand new realtor when I joined DXP. It was 5.5 years ago. So April of 2017 is when I got my license. And Rob Flick, which I'm sure all of you know, was my sponsor. He and I have been friends now. My wife and I, Sonia and I, and Rob and Jen go back about 10 years. I was at another business with Rob, is how we know each other. But Rob reached out to me after he'd been on board for about a year. And he didn't, should I say this? He didn't know that I was getting my real estate license. I didn't know he was back in real estate. Long story short, we're having dinner one night. He starts to give me kind of a stock tip. I continued to ask him questions. I realized this is a brokerage. Asked him more questions, realized he's a part of it. And I looked at him and went, Rob, I'm getting my real estate license in 3 weeks. He's like, oh my gosh, have you ever heard of EXP Realty? I said, no. Well, he had already, before coming to dinner that night in my house, he had already said, hey, I need to jump on a webinar tonight. Would you have a place I could step away and do that? And I'm like, well, absolutely. I didn't know what it was about, but I figured he was doing his own business. I know he's a big real estate developer and investor and all that kind of stuff. Long story short, he's in my house. We're having dinner. He's giving me these stock tips. I realize he's a part of this brokerage. One thing leads to another. And when he said, when he asked me if I'd heard of EXP Realty, and I said, no. Well, he said, well, why don't you step in while I'm doing the webinar and check things out, which I did. And when it was over with, be honest with you guys, I was like trembling. And the reason I say that is, if I go back about a year before getting my real estate license, I had made a very bad investment, an oil and gas investment that I thought was going to be a home run, me and a few other people. But long story short, it didn't. I lost everything. So I'm 56 today. When I got started and got my license, I was about 50. And I was kind of starting life over. I'm married, have a couple kids, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had just blown my whole 401k on this investment opportunity that went south on me. And this was like a God thing that EXP landed in my lap. So when I saw the presentation that night, he turned around and he's like, give me some feedback. What do you think? I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, Rob. I remember the first question I asked him, I said, do you mind me asking, so how many other brokerages around the country are offering these kind of services? He said, Shon, no one that we're aware of. And I went, well, if this is true, then why wouldn't every agent should join DXP? And Rob kind of looked at me and laughed, said, well, Shon, one day we think they will. And like we all say, they're all coming, right? Mm-hmm. So I say this to begin with, you need to have a very strong why. Right. I had a huge why at the moment I saw EXP, right? I had lost all of my money set aside for my family and retirement. I had to make things up. So all of a sudden I had this hunger when I saw it. Yes, I was going to get into real estate anyway to flip houses, do some investments and so forth. When I saw the EXP Realty model, I had done some recruiting in a previous company. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I could attract an agent. If they're a capper, I get 2,800. That was way more than I was getting at a previous company. So I say all that to go, I got started. And the main thing I can tell you guys right now is when you get started in this on the attraction side, 4 things need to take place, right? First of all, you need to make a list, right? I always tell people a minimum of 100 agents. And if you don't know how to come up with 100 agents, you can ask you some questions here in a few minutes. I can definitely show you how to come up with those very quickly. Then what do you do? Number 2, you have to invite them to see the information, right? There's a variety of ways we can do that. Then you present to them. And again, you could do that through a lunch and learn, a one-on-one, invite them to a webinar, Zoom, whatever be easiest for you and them. And then you close and or follow up. Those are the only 4 things we do: make a list, invite, present, and follow up. Those 4 things. And so I say all that to go, I got started. I only knew I was a brand new agent. I went through my Facebook and all my friends and contacts. I had 12 agents that were friends of mine. They were spread across 6 states. In my first 3 weeks, I called all 30 of them very quick, called all 12 of them. And being there with my friends and buddies, I simply just said something to the effect, if I can remember 5.5 years ago, obviously I was excited, but very nervous. But I called these friends of mine and I just said, oh my gosh, I said, hey, listen, guys, I just got my real estate license back here in Dallas. And I've just seen a model unlike anything I've ever seen in the industry. Obviously, I respect you, what you've been doing in real estate. Would you do me a favor and just check out the model? Give me your feedback on it. Well, they're my friends. All 12 of them checked it out. Within 7 months, 10 of those 12 agents came over. And my whole life began to change very, very quickly. And what I've now realized is, right, we don't know who's going to go out and do this, who's going to go out and attract to help build. But out of those first 12 I reached out to, 2 began to do exactly what I was doing. And one of them was a major player, and some of you may know him by the name of Jay Nelson. Well, Jay was out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Love Jay. Yes.
Huge enthusiasm. Just incredible man, he and his wife. Anyway, when I reached out to Jay, just to share you guys what happened to me that boosted my confidence to continue to make calls, Jay was my 3rd agent to reach out to. Jay was doing at that time about $23 million a year in production. He was been a Remax for 13 years. He bled blue, right? He loved it. It was like family to him. I say that to go, when I reached out to Jay, it took me, he's the hardest person to this day that I've ever had to try to get onto a webinar. We spent 45 minutes on the call with him, continue to ask questions. I'd be like, Jay, we're going to cover all that in the presentation. Because I know, but then he would continue to ask me. I finally got him to go, okay, I'm going to check this out. And Rob Flick was doing a live webinar that day. All I can say is right before we got off the phone for Jay to jump on that webinar, I'll never forget, he said this to me, he goes, Shon, I'm going to tell you right now, you got a 1 in 1,000 chance of ever showing anything I haven't already seen. Because I'm not trying to brag or boast, but I'm contacted almost every day. Someone's trying to market something to me. I'm like, Jay, hey man, I totally get it. I completely respect you. I'd love to get your opinion on this. Jay watches the webinar, you guys. He's in Nashville, I'm in Dallas. Right when the webinar is over, Jay calls me on the phone and says, Shon, that's the most brilliant brokerage model I've ever seen in my life. He goes, I knew somebody was going to figure this out. He goes, you know what they've done? Guys, I'd had my license for 3 weeks. All I'm thinking about is how do I do a transaction, right? I was a brand new agent. He said, Shon, they've taken the model and they flipped it on its head. Instead of making the agent the last one paid, they made him the first one paid. That was at 4 o'clock, the webinar. At 6 o'clock, we show his wife. 8 o'clock, I get on a 3-way call with Rob Flick. At 10 o'clock, he pulls the trigger, you guys, day 1. Remember, he bled blue, only been at Remax, loved it. It was like family, said he was going nowhere, pulls the trigger day 1. I only tell you guys that to go, here I am going, oh my gosh, if a $23 million producer that loved his broker made the move immediately, what could this do for agents all over the country if he saw it? So I immediately went, oh my gosh, this could truly bless agents all over the United States. So I now began to go, okay, I've reached out to my 12 contacts. And my goal when I first got my license, you guys, was that first year was to sell half a dozen houses. Well, I fell short and I had 5 transactions. Be very upfront with you, Shon, and everybody that's here. All 5 of those I outsourced to somebody on my team right here in Dallas that I began to attract. So I didn't even do the transaction. I did a split with them, but they did the transaction. I only tell you that to go, by the time I get 10 months into this thing, my revenue share had taken off. I was well over 5 figures a month. And I'm thinking, so why in the world would I continue to sell houses? So I immediately started to pull the throttle back and started to think, what could I do to help pour into this team? Because almost everybody that you bring on board, they know how to do transactions, right? If we're all reaching out to experienced agents or at least full-time agents, they don't need to be handheld on a transaction, right? They either want to increase their production, but we've got the gimmies that bring them on board, the stock and the rev share. Well, I figured, you know what? Most agents don't know how to attract. Maybe I can help them all with that. So I began to put a focus on trying to help the team build. And in the process, I started coming across agents on my team that began to rise up, right? That started to do the same thing that I was doing. And we created what we call the Rockstar team. I've got 5 other agents that are all very experienced in real estate, done a lot of production, but they also became big attractors. And I still get together with them till this day. Every single Friday, we get together for an hour. We brainstorm what can we do to pour into the team and all that. But let me just go back in time again. So all of a sudden, that first, 12 agents I reach out to, then I start to go, okay, how can I get hold of other agents? I can go to networking events. I'd only done a few transactions. So I thought, well, wait a second. I've got a phone like all of you guys do. And I went, Okay, I got several hundred names in here of almost everybody I know has bought a house. So wait a sec. So they have to know a realtor. So I started in my A's, and I say this to all you guys that might be looking for more people to contact. And I began to send out 20 texts a day. It might be something like, hey, Todd, I said, hey, man, hope you and the family are blessed and doing well. I just recently got my real estate license, and I'm expanding my, no, I said, I got my real estate license. I'm looking for a quality agent in your area that I could work with. I'm working on a big project, looking for an agent in your area I could work with. I'd say something like that via text. I'd send out 20 a day. Within 24 hours, I'd usually have 15 to 20 agents' names. Now, all of a sudden, the phone call was totally different, right? Now, at least I had something we could connect on. So I kind of made somewhat of a warm contact. I began to do that for the first year. I probably reached out to, I'd say, at least a couple of hundred agents that first year, and that's how everything took off. And by the end of that first year, I had 16 agents who would come in frontline. And I want to say it grew to just over 400. So all of a sudden, here I am going into year two. I'm well over 20,000 a month, and things just began to grow from there. And like I said, then all of a sudden, next thing I know, with the Jays and the other people I have on the team, rock stars just started to rise up, and this thing began to build. Now today, man, I look at it and go, this is unreal. I'm surrounded with icon agents all over my team. We all pour into each other. We do our own Zooms and stuff. And Shon, I have learned a ton from you. I've been part of both your programs. I've sent a bunch of agents through your acceleration program. So it's been phenomenal. And I use some of your same verbiage today, especially on what's the verbiage you talk about where how many points would you give your current brokerage on a scale of 1 to 10? And I go through those, and that is genius. To do that at the front of the presentation, let them give me the numbers, and at the very end of it, go through it. And we now all of a sudden apply the numbers with the XP. Obviously, it comes up to 50. So anyway, that's been a great way to kind of really help them understand what this model could do for them if they came over, right? So anyway, that's kind of how it came up to this point. There's now about 2,500 agents on the team. I have attracted 54. Thank you. Very grateful. Only 54. And I say that to go, guys, I've been here 5.5 years. That's not even one agent a month. And when those 54 agents, like I said, it's grown to about just over 2,500 right now. And out of those, I have 42 that are left. So out of those 54, 42 are left. And today I still have only 24 that are qualified. Tomorrow, 25, go back to that 6-tier opening. And guys, when it gets to a group this large, that is a massive pay raise. And what better timing right now, but here comes Christmas. So I'm grateful, Shon, for the whole thing. So I don't know what else you'd like me to add to that.
Oh, dude. Well, I'm grateful as well. And I'm grateful for everything you just said, because you brought up some really key points. And what I wanted today, and Shon, you've already delivered, is actionable strategies and tactics that people can put into place in their business, like right now.
Okay.
To start growing that revenue share. So 20 texts per day. Just I'm working on a project, looking for a great realtor in your area. Can you reply with their name, their phone number, their email address? Now you have that warm lead. See, when you follow up with that agent and you say, so-and-so, a past client of yours, said, that I should definitely call you with this new opportunity. Now, all of a sudden, their ears open up, don't they? They begin to listen to what you have to say because they want to look good in front of their past client or this person they have a relationship with. The last thing they want is for you to call them and say, that person was a total jerk to me. They hung up on me, or whatever the case is. Don't ever do business with that person again. So they're going to say yes to the opportunity because of that inherent need to look good and be right in front of their past client or that relationship that they have. Shon, it's just totally brilliant. That strategy, by the way, is part of the Attraction in Action program, where you can reach out to friends, family members outside of your state and ask them, who do you know that's a fantastic agent? Because I'm expanding my brokerage nationally, and I'd like to present them with an incredible opportunity. I'll tell you what, when they give you the name and phone number, you call them. It doesn't really much matter what you say, because now it's about their relationship with their past client, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And they're going to say, yes, I'll check it out.
Yeah. And what I found doing that is, let's say 4 out of 5 would say yes immediately because of the relationship. But every once in a while, you almost knew within that first 30 seconds, Shon, when I called them and, went through and just said, maybe you were the friend, right? And maybe Todd's the one who referred you. And I just reach out to you and go, hey, Shon, I say, hey, this is Shon Sturrock, realtor back here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And you and I have a mutual friendship in Todd Clean. I was asking Todd who he knew there in the Nashville area that was a great agent. He brought up your name. And that is awesome. If you don't mind me asking, how do you guys know each other again? What's your background? And right from that statement, either it was immediately like, oh my gosh, Shon and I go back to college. And it was either I could see it was a positive, the direction we were going. And if it started like that and immediately went, oh my gosh, Shon's a great guy. I knew that I was going to get the appointment. Every once in a while, someone would throw me a realtor that maybe helped them buy their house 3 years earlier, but yet they don't really have a relationship. And the guy would be like, Shon, who? And I'd be like, okay, this could be a little bit tougher right there. But that was maybe 1 out of 5, right? But at least it gave me several hundred names that I could call on. And that's what kind of kicked the thing forward. Today, all I try to teach everybody, Shon, that comes on, because everybody's busy selling houses. I get it. We're all completely slammed. But you start off, and like I said to begin with, you have to have a why. Why do you want to build the rev share? And it can't be just because I want to make extra money. You got to dig deep. Why do you need the extra money? Right? Well, I need to help get my kids through college. There's no way I can pay for the education if I don't get some extra money. Whatever it is, you need to continue to dig deeper until you come up with why do you want to spend time doing rev share? Then what is it that we try to teach all the agents that are busy? Find 30 minutes a day to make at least 5 outbound calls. So every night before you go to bed, come up with the 5 agents you're going to call. Hopefully you've taken a few minutes just to check on Google. You can type in any realtor's name if you know the city they're in. Type any realtor's name, realtor in the city, it comes up, and there's usually 5, 6, 7 different posts and stuff on there. And you can go through and kind of find out their background and so forth, and what their transaction count is. Most of that can be found online. But I just say all that to go, I tell everybody, make 5 calls a day. You're probably going to start to reach on average about 2 or 3. As you get better, remember, all you're trying to do is invite them to see it. Well, if you make 5 calls a day, good chance you're going to get hold of 2 or 3, good chance you're going to get 1 invited to a webinar, to a one-on-one Zoom, to a lunch and learn, whatever you want to do. If you do that every day, and all you do is get hold of 1 agent who at least wants to see the info, well, that's 5 agents. Here's kind of the numbers I've always seen. Contact 5, you get 2 or 3 to answer. As you get better at making the calls and inviting, you'll usually get 1 that agrees to get on a Zoom. So if I set 5 Zooms in a week, what I generally find, Shon, is about half of those stick, right? They're busy agents, something come up, got to go show a house, got to go do a listing, whatever. And then we work on rescheduling. What I've noticed is when it comes to rescheduling, now it's even harder to get them to show up. So it is a numbers game. Get 5 to see a Zoom. I usually get 2 that'll see it. Out of every, I'd say right now, I'm probably batting 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4 agents that see the information move forward. So it's always that thing we taught from, Stephen Covey, right? Begin with the end in mind is one of his habits. So what's the end in mind, right? You want to get to 40 and, or let's just say in your mindset, it's God, if I could get to 10,000 a month passive income, that would set me free. Well, if that's the number, just start to go backwards all the way down to what do you need to do per month, per week, per day to have this happen. And we've all just narrowed it down to, I don't care how busy an agent you are, anybody can set aside 30 minutes and treat that 30 minutes like it's a listing appointment, like it's a multi-million-dollar listing appointment, because it is. Like you said, you can list 40 houses or list 40 agents. Well, guys, you list 40 agents, whether you want to call it the 2080 rule or maybe even the 1090 rule, Shon, usually I'd say for every 10 agents that you bring to the table that joins us, you're going to generally have 2 of those that start to do the same thing you're doing. Whether you help them or not, they're going to start to attract. So it is somewhat of a numbers game. Like I said, I've now put in 54. I have about 11 of those agents who are out attracting, but 3 of them account for 95% of my team. So, and I'm sure, Shon, yours is the exact same way. Every big player that I've spoken to usually has, depends on the size of their team, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frontline agents who have really built their entire organization. And that's the same thing that's happened to me. So I look up now, like here you are inviting me to present on this phone and on this Zoom, and I'm thinking, it isn't me. I just did what I needed to begin with because I had a strong why, which helped me overcome the fear of picking up the phone and making those calls. And because I did enough of it, I got better at it, learned how to respond, learned how to invite better, learned how to present, and then the follow-up and getting good at getting a third party to come in. Somebody in your organization or upline, it could be crossline, right? Whoever you're friends with and stuff, because a third party can be edified as the expert, doesn't matter who it is, right? As long as you edify them correctly. So again, that's the simplicity of what we're doing. Make 5 calls a day. You're probably going to get hold of a couple of them. Get good at inviting them, and we can talk more about that kind of, Shon. I don't know how deep you want to dig on this, but anyway, that's all I do today is do the same thing. I'm now helping my team. I do a lot of Zooms for my team. I do a lot of 3-way calls, and I'm still myself trying to go open up that 6th and 7th tier. Tier 6 will open tomorrow. Now my goal in 2023, God willing, is to open up and get another 15 plus agents on board.
Absolutely. Shon, congratulations, by the way, on all the success and so much to unpack here. I'm telling you, so much to unpack. In fact, let's go through a quick exercise. Everybody grab your phone. Seriously, grab your phone. I want you to open up your calculator. Just do it with me real fast. I want you to type in whatever number you want or desire to obtain in terms of passive income every month, whatever that number is. It could be 5,000, could be 10,000, could be 100,000, whatever it is that you want, type that in right now. Then I want you to divide that by 61. And that is the number that you need in your revenue share organization to obtain that amount of income. Now, Shon, you find yourself in the position, and I've been there as well, no doubt. I'm at 27 FLQA right now. I haven't unlocked that seventh tier. Now, you have to unlock the tier in order to get the $61 per agent per month. That is the mathematical cheat, by the way. That is going to be the average amount of income that you gain from each agent within your rev share group of the lines that you've unlocked. Like, Shon, do you mind being a little transparent with your numbers just for a second?
Not at all.
Do you know how many agents you have at level 6?
I can tell you, I'm going to be right close to it. Probably 538.
538 times 61. So tomorrow, when you unlock that 6th level, that's going to bring in an extra $32,800 a month.
Praise God.
A month, you guys. So is all the effort, energy, the time invested, is it worth it?
Oh my gosh, yes. That's guys, it's been so life-changing. I went through all the different emotional stages, right? When it all started to happen. I remember I almost got teary-eyed, Shon, be honest with you, because again, I was coming from such a place of losing everything, married, kids, and I had nothing set aside. I had to make something work. And when this thing started to take off and I finally got myself out of debt, paid the cards off, all that kind of stuff. Now it's just gotten to a point in life where you're like, what do I do with that extra money every month? Where do I invest it? Where do I put it? And what an incredible position to be in, right? But I see questions over here, and somebody's asking, so they were brand new like I, right? 1,000 agents, phone numbers, addresses. Is there a script I can follow? And obviously, you guys, if you're on here with Shon Kokoszka, I don't know whether I could ever give anything else that could probably surpass what it is that you're doing. So follow whatever this gentleman's doing in teaching, because I've been on his stuff as well. I'll go over some of the stuff my group and I, what we kind of teach. We do Monday and Thursday attraction Zooms for anybody on our team who wants to attend. We do a beginning class on Monday, then more of an advanced on Thursday. But the one thing we teach is for everybody to put a group, just a list of some bullet points together, and you're going to use them when you're inviting someone, right? So you can say it's kind of a script, and I'll go over that in just a second. But here are those few one-liners. Like I have a Post-it note right in front of me, and I'll kind of tell you guys what it says, but it sits right here on my computer screen above. But basically, a few little one-liners, because remember, when you're inviting someone, all you're trying to do is create enough curiosity to get them to want to look, right? Some of those little one-liners, if you want to, somebody wants to type them in or write them down, right? EXP is exploding everywhere, right? Not calling to get you to change brokers. Your volume is ideal for one of our programs. The 2023 presentation, personalize the model, 500 to 1,000 agents a week. These are just all little one-liners, right? And then I'll kind of go through that invitation. Over 100% commission, get set up for retirement. We get paid 3 different ways. And I know you talk about 8, and I'll usually say, look, we pay our agents up to 8 different ways. I'm going to focus on just 3 of those with you when we go through the Zoom together, right? Obviously the stock and the rev share and so forth. But anyway, those are the different one-liners I keep in front of me. But that dialogue can be, so once I've called you on the phone, we chatted for a few minutes about both of us have a mutual relationship in that, Todd, and all of a sudden we're talking, and maybe it's reading people's personalities and tonality and how they're responding on the phone to you, right? In which John, I can't wait to sit in on some of your cold call stuff, because it sounds like you've got this mastered. So I'm going to attend some of that with you. But once it got to the point where either we had a 1-2 minute dialogue, we had a 5 to 10 minute dialogue about something mutual, either a relationship, and or if they also live in a certain city, I'm familiar with something, we start to talk about that. But at some point in time, you can tell when you need to move to the next step. And I'd simply say something like, well, first of all, Shon, man, I sincerely appreciate your time today. And it's so awesome just to meet somebody else who's good friends with Todd Clean. He and I go back so far, all the way back to high school. Man, let me tell you that the main reason I was calling you today, has anybody ever taken the time to share with you the 2023 EXP Realty presentation? But more important than that, have they personalized the model according to your needs and the volume that you produce, and shown you the 3 different ways that we can get you paid and help you go over 100% commission? Has anybody ever done that for you? And I just pause. And it's every once in a while, if you'll have someone, right, as we continue to grow that might go, oh, you know what, Shon, it's EXP. You know what, I'm familiar with it. Listen, I'm more than content with where I'm at. I saw that presentation of, whatever, 6 months ago, a year ago. And yeah, I'm pretty happy where I'm at. Every time they say they've seen it, I'll always pause and I'll say something like, well, Shon, hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you had a chance to see it. Mind me asking you this question. When you saw the presentation and they sat down with you afterwards and they personalized the model, how much higher above 100% were you able to go? When I ask that question, they always pause and go, what do you mean over 100%? I said, yeah, well, we pay up to 8 different ways. So when they applied your numbers to our model, how much higher above 100% were you able to go? And they'll usually go, well, we didn't go through that information. So if I say, hey, listen, I definitely don't want to step any toes. Do you mind me asking, when you saw the presentation 6 months, a year ago, whatever it was, are they still in contact with you? Because I definitely don't want to, take away from anybody that you have a relationship with. No, that was just somebody, they shot me a video where I went to a luncheon and I haven't talked to them since then. I say, listen, if you're open, I'd love to not only share the model with you, refresh you, because we have a new presentation here for 2023. But again, I want to take the time to apply your numbers, find out what's important to you. I'll personalize the model, plug in your numbers, and I'm going to show you how you have the ability to go over 100% commission. I've got some time Thursday afternoon or Friday morning of this week. Would you have a few minutes we could jump on a Zoom together? And that's all that I do. So that invitation, again, all I keep saying to them is I say, listen, well, the main reason I was reaching out to you is I simply wanted to ask, have you had the opportunity to review the 2023 eXp Realty presentation? But more important than that, had someone personalize it for you according to what's important to you and what your volume is, showed you the 3 different ways you can get paid and how you could go up over 100% commission. Has anybody done that for you? Well, that's it. By simply asking that question, right? Because people always say, what do I say? You're just simply asking, has anybody ever reviewed? In other words, you're either open-minded or they're not. We're looking for people that are looking for us. We're looking for people that are swimming toward the boat. If I get any kind of negativity pushback, you can just jump off the phone and say, hey, man, it looks like I caught you at a bad time, Shon. Hey, not a man. Hope you finish off a great year. Maybe we can connect the first quarter of next year. I'm just getting off the phone, right? You're just looking for the person whose curiosity is piqued, right? And then I set the Zoom. I show the presentation. Now, I'm in a different situation where I can do a lot of Zooms because I got time, but you can invite them to a webinar. Like I know, Shon, you still do one every Friday at noon. I probably invited about 4 or 5 agents to that. I had an agent who joined because of your Friday presentation. So thank you again. So when you guys reached out to me to come share, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm coming to share on Shon Kokoszka. Are you kidding me? I know your background, man, and we're all so grateful you chose to come to EXP. You've been
I am too.
into this
I am too, Shon.
way.
One of the best decisions I've ever made in business. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and I've made
awesome
a ton of them, I'll tell you what, but that was a really, really good one. Shon, what you've said has been completely amazing. Here's what I want you guys to do. If you have a question for Shon, and I know you do, don't let Mick, that inner voice, my inner cynic, we all have one. We all have a Mick that's going to tell you, don't ask that question. You might look stupid. I want you to go down to the bottom of your screen. I want you to click on the emoji there that is for reactions. And when you click on that, you're going to see a little bar there that says raise hand. Jack Ty, I see you've raised your hand already. I want you to raise your hand when you have a question. Jack, let's go to you first.
Hello, thank you so much for that information. It's very, very inspiring and very, very helpful. So my question is, how are you keeping agents enrolled into how do you communicate with all the agents that you have in your group? And secondly, how do you keep them enrolled into coming to the meetings? And I understand that there's a 80-20 rule that not that everybody's gonna come, but I feel like every time when I'm trying to hold something, I'm begging them to come to the thing,
You're a little choppy. Did you gather all that, Shon?
Well, I gathered the first part of the question, and Jack will come back to you. Let's address the first part of the question, which was, once you get an agent to align with your organization, no matter what level they're at, 1 through 7, how do you keep them engaged? How do you get them into action around attraction and essence? What are you doing? How do you, well, and let me pause here. There's 4 categories we must focus on, right? Number 1 is recruiting. Number 2 is retention. And I think that's around Jack's question around retention. Then there's revenue or per agent production. And finally, it's reproduction. So maybe it's in the 2nd and 4th category, right? So how do you retain them? How do you get them into action around attraction?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sure a lot of you might use it. If not, I use crmgrow.com, right? I think a lot of you, maybe if you're not familiar with it, if you're truly wanting to take attraction to the next level, I'm sure there's other CRMs, but this system was literally created for attraction for EXP agents. There's all kinds of videos are in there. You can also upload any videos, and it's a great way to stay in contact with your team and your prospects. But the main thing, when someone comes on board, I've hired an executive assistant. So we've kind of taken our onboarding to another level, doing the best we can, because I've learned over the 5.5 years of doing this, that onboarding experience, boy, you better make that as good as it possibly can be. The last thing one thing to do is have a bad taste in the mouth about the onboarding. So you might look at somebody on your team that can also help bring them on board other than just EXP. They do a great job, but I think they need a little bit more personal hand-holding, or at least offer that to those agents that come on board. Then it's a matter of, we introduce them to our team, right? I've created what's called the Freedom Team, me and, like I said, my rock stars, and we have our own 18 hours of Zooms. We all do every single month. And so I try to invite them to get them to engage in what we're doing at EXP. Most agents, Shon, anybody that has done any attraction, even if someone comes on board and they don't really show that they're massively interested in rev share, you know, in the back of their mind, they are. They just don't know probably what to do, or they're intimidated by it, or they've never done it. But I say, listen, if you're open, and I'm sure you are, you'd love to be making at least a couple $1,000s a month passive income, right? They all say yes. I'll say, listen, come to at least our Monday class, and I invite them to our beginning rev share class. And I have them just start hearing from some of the agents that were in their boat when they first started. Maybe they were intimidated, didn't know what to say, what to do. And we teach them the simplicity of what I said to you guys, right? Make a list, invite, present, and follow up. Well, think about it. Everybody can do the first three. Everybody can make a list of agents. Everybody can invite them, right? We can go through that invitation script again. Present. You don't have to be the presenter. I still today, probably 90% of my presentations, I press play. I either do the 9-minute video, or I do a gentleman on my team, Jeff, who's done one, or I show Brent Goves. And a lot of times when I invite someone and we set the Zoom, I'll always now been doing this about the last year. Right after I set the Zoom, I'll say, well, hey, Shon, I'm going to send that Zoom link over to you. I get everything verified, email and all that. I'll say, listen, I'm going to include in there a 9-minute high overview video. Now, listen, if you don't have time to watch it, not a problem at all. When you and I get online, we'll do it together. But if you get a few minutes, watch that video. It'll help just save us both some time. Then we can jump on and I can go through some Q&A with you and start to personalize the model. But right below that 9-minute video, if you have the chance to watch it and you're intrigued and want to know a little bit more before our Zoom on Friday, I'm going to also have a little bit more in detail video that's about 30 minutes long. If you get a chance to watch them, great. But please, again, Shon, if you don't, let's still jump on the Zoom. I'll go through the information with you. I say that because now I'm having about 1 out of 3 agents who will watch the video before I ever get on the Zoom with them. Now they're coming to the Zoom, usually way more excited, more open-minded. They already have questions. If not, when I get on with them, I'll ask them, I'll say, listen, I'll go back through everything we talked about, find out what their pain points are again, review that with them. I'm going to make sure I cover that, but I'm also just simply going to, ask them as we get ready to go through the presentation, what's most important to them as we go through it, what are they looking for, et cetera. I'm going to personalize the model. And that's really all that I've been doing all the way up now for 5.5 years. It's just now I'm surrounded with all this talent who has come in, and I keep learning from you and other people, the Jay Kinders, the Brent Goves. I'm constantly in learn mode, you guys. I do not have this thing figured out at all. I'm very fortunate and blessed that I found a handful of agents that were 50 times better than me who came in and they started to attract. I just had to get the courage like you do to pick up the phone and just start making some calls. So again, I don't know if we went back to somebody asking about the script. What other questions are over here, Shon, that we can make sure we take care of?
Oh, we've got Emma's hands up. Let's go to Emma first.
Okay.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, Emma.
Hey, good to see you again, Shon. I'm back. Hey, I love this presentation. I got to say the 60 dividing how much money they want by 61, brilliant. Brilliant. I love it. So my question to you is about when you say you're going to personalize the presentation for them. I've got a broker that I'm talking to, has about 15 agents, and I got this pushback. She doesn't want to be a ninja icon in the world. She doesn't want the stocks. Somebody gave her a bunch of recruiting throw up. So I'm staying in touch with her. So I love this idea of doing the 2023 presentation, but break it down for me. Like when I go to customize the 2023 presentation for her as a broker, what kind of suggestions do you have for me?
Let me tell you where I go with brokers. So if all of a sudden I was talking to you and we were set up the Zoom, I say, listen, when you and I get ready to go through the Zoom on Friday morning, if you're okay with this, I'm going to walk you through what an agent, like agents in your brokerage right now, what agents would see. I want to show you the value that they would see, because I obviously know you as a broker, you care about your agents, you care about their production, helping them be successful. So let me go through that first Zoom and show you what we show agents every single day. And remember, we have 500 to 1,000 agents a week that are coming on board EXP. So let me walk you through what they do, because here's what I've learned. Once I walk them through the presentation in the eyes of what their agents are going to see, they're usually now very open, because now they're realizing, oh my gosh, if my agents see what this guy just showed me, I'm going to have some of them leave. So now all of a sudden they're open-minded to go, okay, so now what's exactly in it for me? I may talk about it from a high level, but the moment they've shown interest and you've gone through a Zoom as if you're showing it to an agent, now you can set up and you can bring in corporate. Right, Chuck Fazio right now sits in broker relations. I've had him on 2 Zooms already. So if I got a broker, I don't care if they got 5 agents, they got 100 agents. I show that broker as if I'm showing one of their agents. They're interested, which they almost seem like they always are. Then I set up the second Zoom and I bring in corporate, or I bring in Chuck Fazio right now, who sits in that position in broker relations. So I don't have to worry about me trying to go, God, how do I talk to this broker? God, they got 72 agents. They're doing, 218 million, whatever. It can be almost intimidating. So I break it down to what would I show their agents? And I want them to see that, because I want them to feel like, oh my gosh, if this guy or other people reach out to my agents and then they see what I just saw, I'm going to lose some. So that's all I've noticed. That's the best way for me to get the broker then to now talk to somebody from corporate. Then I bring one of them and I let them do the dog and pony show for the broker. Does that help?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I do have the form to submit. I already got that one, so I
Okay,
can put them in there. But my problem is I don't want to put them in there until they at least let me present to them and get the information to them. And so that's where I'm stuck, because I'm trying to get this girl like, hey, let's sit down and do the numbers. And that's, I'm, back new to trying to do this again. So I'll figure it out. But yeah, the hardest part is just getting her to look at it at all, because she's like, I don't. So got any good tips for that?
Yeah. So if I was talking to you as if you were the broker, Emma, I'd say, well, Emma, first of all, I said, I'm not sure if you're aware. Would you be okay if I just share for about 45 seconds some of the reasons why we have so many agents and brokers come to EXP? Yeah. Go ahead. And I'll say something like, Emma, first of all, in the last 12 months, we've had somewhere between 450 to 500 brokerages that have aligned themselves with EXP. They have partnered with us, and there is a reason for it. And I've always narrowed it down to one word, Emma: value. It's the value we're giving the agents to help them not only increase their production, but get set up for retirement. We can offer them health insurance, and we also can help them create a passive income. What I'd love to do, if you're open to it, Emma, is simply walk you through and let you see what your agents would see if they were to come over to EXP. Because obviously, if you're the broker, I'm sure you care very dearly about your agents and their success. So let me show you what it would be like for them if they were over at EXP. Then we'll take a look at this model of what it could do for you. Because the bottom line for you, as I get to know more and more brokers around the country that have aligned themselves here, it comes down to one thing you really care about, most brokers, is the net profit, right? Doesn't matter how much revenue you do, how much money is going to the bottom line. One of the things I'll be able to share with you in the presentation is how it can help you increase net profit right to the bottom line. Well, why don't we start off maybe this Thursday afternoon or Friday morning? Let's see if you and I can jump on a one-on-one Zoom. I'll walk you through again what your agents would see. And from that point, we'll take the second step. And then I want to really break the model down, and I can do an apples comparison of what this would mean for your agents and your entire brokerage. So why don't we just start off and let's set up that first Zoom. Are you better sometime Thursday after? And I just go to set the appointment. So the 450 to 500 brokerages have aligned themselves in the last 12 months. Think about that for a minute. That's 30 to 35 a month that are coming over. Excuse me. Is that right? Oh my gosh, it's more than that. 450, whatever it is divided by, right? Just, it's almost mind-boggling to think about that. How many brokers have come over? That one line, at least in my own opinion, if I'm a broker and you were talking to me and said, we had over 450 brokerages just like yours align itself with EXP in the last 12 months. When I saw the success you were having there in the Nashville area with the brokerage, I thought, God, I want to reach out to Emma and at least let you understand why that's happening, Emma. I'll always say I've got 2 goals in mind when you and I do the Zoom, right? First of all, I want to make sure you fully understand why we have over 450 brokerages coming on board. And then number 2, I want to make sure that I break the numbers down do an apples to apples comparison for you and your brokerage so that you can fully understand the value you and your agents would receive if you ever decide to partner with us. Would you have some time Thursday afternoon or Friday morning? Again, I'm not saying anything magical, right? There's only like a few little things I say on every one of the calls. And I can go back to someone who's asking about that script. I don't have time to type it in, but if somebody can type it, let me just say this again for some one-liners. Is there somebody there who could type this in that's pretty good at typing real quick? Because these are just everything that we've now learned in 5.5 years. Again, guys, I've got some studs on my team that are doing huge producers, right? $20 and $30 million producers, but they're also big attractors. They've helped us come up with these lines. So again, EXP is exploding everywhere. Right? If somebody can type that in, EXP is exploding everywhere. Number two, not calling to get you to change brokers, right? If I'm talking to an agent. Number three, your volume is ideal for one of our programs. What am I referring to? Just FYI for you and for all of us here, right? The stock. Think about it. If I already know they're an icon agent with their production number of sales, yes, their volume is ideal for one of our programs, right? It's going to take them over 100% commission if they're an icon agent. That's what I mean by that. Number four, the 2023 presentation. Number five, personalize the model. Number six, 500 to 1,000 agents a week are making the move to EXP. And I always say why. I've narrowed it down to one word. It's the value that the agent receives at EXP. Number six, number seven, set up retirement. And number eight, get paid 3 different ways instead of just one. If that's all you had in front of you again, and then the invite, if I said it one more time, and again, Shon, you've got your own probably invite. This is just throwing out something that could be maybe a little different than what Kokoszka might be teaching you. But all we've been teaching on our team is when it comes ready, once you've had that little dialogue, right? Whether it's 30 seconds, whether it's 10 minutes, you're trying to build that rapport and relationship on the front end if you don't already have it. But when you're ready to make that transitional phrase, I'll generally just, again, compliment them. So first of all, Emma, I sincerely appreciate your time. Congrats. I mean, my gosh, being an agent for 21 years, you've been through some of the craziest times, the 08, 09, and for you to not only be here 21 years later, but doing the kind of production and success you have, hats off to you. And I really mean that. The other main reason I was reaching out to you, Emma, I simply wanted to ask you, has anybody ever shared with you the 2023 EXP Realty presentation? But more important than that, personalize the model according to what's important to you and to your production level, and showed you the 3 different ways you could get paid over here and how it could help you go up over 100% commission. Has anybody done that for you? That's it.
No.
That question. Okay. And even if somebody goes, oh, you know what, Shon? I went to some lunch and learn about a year ago and I got to see the presentation and all that. You know what? I'm pretty happy where I'm at. Hey, Emma, hey, completely understand. That's awesome. I'm glad you're happy with where you're at. I said, may I ask you this? When you saw the presentation about a year ago and they sat down with you after and they personalized the model, how much higher above 100% were you able to go? It always kind of stops them in their tracks. So, and usually leads to an appointment because they're curious going, what in the world? In other words, you guys, people will watch a video or people will watch a presentation. They're not understanding how this model could help them go over 100% commission. So that little one-liner usually creates curiosity. Even if somebody showed it to them in the past, I've had a lot of them say, well, so what happened after the lunch and learn? And, you know, I told them, hey, if I was interested, I'd give you a call back. And they kind of walk out the door. The person never sat down with them to really help them understand what the model could do. And somebody's asking me about what you do to show them how they can go over 100%. Well, obviously the stock numbers, you got to be very careful, right? The way we talk about stock, but we can talk about the past, right? And I know if they're an icon agent, they're going to go over 100%, but there's also, we created an Excel spreadsheet where you could plug their numbers in and I can show them, had they been here in the last year or two, here's what that'd be worth today, right? Instead of going through any of that, to keep it real high level, I might say something like this. I'll say, Emma, just to give you an idea on what I mean by the 3 different ways you could get paid. One of the ways we have right now is you would have equity ownership in our company. And I can tell you this just to tell you how phenomenal this has been. Back in 2018, right before we went on to the NASDAQ, we were sitting at around $3.80. Today, we're sitting around $12 or $13, but we had a stock split back in February of last year. So we're really about $25 or $26. So in the last 4 years, we've grown by 700%. Can you imagine, had you been here in 2018 and you accumulated stock, let's say I was talking to an icon agent, I was saying you were back here in 2018 and you hit icon we're averaging $3.80, and they gave you $16,000 worth of stock back. Now take that 16,000 times 7. Do you realize you would have about $85,000 to $90,000 worth of stock just in that one way, not counting all 5, and just from that first year you were on board? Can you imagine if you'd been here the last 4 years doing the kind of volume you're doing, what that might be worth today? Obviously, it'd be several $100,000 for you. So listen, I know those numbers may sound a little bit crazy. Why don't we at least get together? I've got some openings Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. Let me just walk you through the model. I'll personalize it. Let's break the numbers down. I just want to show you how this model could help you end up going over 100% commission. You got some time Thursday afternoon or Friday morning? Everything's always ending with a question, invitation for them to see it. But you just need to be able to create that curiosity. And sometimes just through that phrase that I ask on the open-ended question, usually leads them to enough curiosity where they're like, how can I get over 100%? And I don't go into the details other than I'm going to break that down on the presentation, show you the multiple ways you can get paid, apply them. I just want to show you how we could help you get set up for retirement, create passive income, and ultimately get you over 100% commission. You have some time Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, we could go over that together. Anyway, we can go back and forth all day long. It's just
so powerful. So powerful.
Same thing.
Shon,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, number one, this has been the easiest call that I've ever facilitated in my life because you are so good, man. So good. I didn't have to interrupt. I didn't have to go deeper. I didn't say, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, you are really, really good at what you do, man. And I'm so impressed. Congratulations. I'm glad you have the same name as me. Now,
You just spelled it wrong. What happened?
Couple of things, just housekeeping. Guys, go to the chat. Seriously, go to the chat. I'm going to post it right now. I want you to join our YouTube channel because these replays, they're posted. Tim Ventura, how quickly are they posted to YouTube?
Almost the same day, and hopefully within like 10 minutes, as fast as this thing compresses.
Okay, beautiful. So within 10 minutes, it should be up there on the YouTube channel. You can rewatch this over and over. And I encourage you guys to do that. Just let it sink in, let it permeate your dominant vernacular, knowing what to say, knowing how to say it. And then, of course, it's up to you to say it to enough people. Those are the only 3 things that you can control in building your revenue share group. No doubt about that. Additionally, Paul Hellam, are you here? Paul, unmute yourself. I don't see you. Okay, well, Paul is my right-hand man here at Icon Coaching. And if maybe you want a little bit of help in building your revenue share to improve your knowledge, your skills, your mindset, your habits, I want you to jump on a free consultation with Paul. He's no charge, no strings, no obligations. He's going to help you solve at least one problem or identify at least one strategy or tactic that you can implement and deploy like right now in your business to grow your revenue share group. And that's what we all want, right? So jump on a free call with Paul. There's no obligation, none of that. Just seriously, just jump in. You have nothing to lose. It'll take about a half hour, and yet you're going to leave that call a better person than you were, or a better business person, I should say, than you were before you joined that call. I promise you. So Shon, we're running out of time yet. And in fact, I let it go a little bit longer because you're so darn good. Yet tell me, do you have any final thoughts, words of wisdom? What would you tell these guys to get them to action around attraction? Go ahead.
And I would say this, this is one of those things, and you guys have heard this before. You don't want to sit and wait and keep thinking, well, you know what, I'll get around to this. I'll start doing this after I, whatever, get an X amount of deals done or whatever it might be. You need to start now, guys. Think about this for a minute. There's approximately 2 million agents across North America, and there's approximately 20 to 25 million worldwide. Because a lot of times, if you're new to EXP, sometimes I'll have somebody go, you know what, I feel like I've missed the boat. There's almost 100,000 agents. Well, let's apply that number for a minute. Right? Even if there's 100,000 agents out of 2 million just in North America, we're just starting to scratch the surface. But when you think of globally, right, with 20 to 25 million, we haven't even got started. But then what's also the information that comes off of NAR on how many, right, 80% of all agents are out of the industry in 3 years. Well, they keep getting replenished with new agents. So this will never stop with the amount of agents that are available for us to contact. Now, obviously, if you're going to spend any time attracting, I would tell you this. Go after agents that are full-time in real estate. I'm not saying don't talk to a newbie, but if you're trying to build a rev share group, why in the world would you talk to a brand new agent who has an 80% chance of going out the back door in 3 years, right? Find agents who are already producing, usually been in business 2 or 3 years, hopefully doing 2.5 million or greater. Because if you think about this for perspective, would you spend an hour on a Zoom maybe even a second hour on a secondary Zoom, a follow-up, having a third party come on, spend a couple hours with someone to potentially have $2,800 a year coming in. Guys, it's so worth your time. And to think that happens year after year, one agent that's a capper in 10 years, that's $28,000 to you and your family by attracting one agent. And what are you really doing? You're blessing that agent, and you have given them the opportunity to ultimately change their life. This is a model that can ultimately, forget rev share for a minute. We have agents, the bigger the producers, they look up in 4 to 5 years, the stock has changed their life. You guys, I got icon agents all over my team that have several $100,000 worth of stock that had they not come over, they would have none. So guys, this is the most life-changing opportunity. So you need to be sold to the core. It's the first thing I'd say. Understand you got hold of a model that has never existed in the marketplace. We're changing the landscape of real estate and the way agents are being compensated. And you're on the front end of that. In my opinion, there will be so much information written about eXp Realty in the next 5 or 10 years. You're sitting here right now at prime time. We're going to go to probably 150,000 agents, I bet, in the next year, eventually over 200. And what is the goal? Within 10 years to be at 1 million agents. So guys, all it takes is about 100 agents. About 100 agents makes you about 100,000 a year. You go find 10 agents, help those 10 find 10. You can look up in 1 year from now and be making over $8,000, $9,000 a month. What if you fell short? Only hit 50% of that, and you were making $4,000 to $5,000 a month at the end of 2023. Would that be life-changing? Covering your rent, covering your. So anyway, guys, I'm again so humble even beyond here, Shon. I appreciate the time. I hope I've been able to add some value to some of you guys, and let's just finish off a phenomenal year. So thank you, Shon.
No, thank you, Shon. No doubt about that. Now, you'd mentioned if you attract one agent to your front line, 2,800 per year, they're a capping agent. That's 28,000 over 10 years. Yet I want you to look at like Brett Gove. He's got 47 frontline qualifying agents. Okay. He's earning around $1.2 million a month. So every frontline agent he has, hear this, you guys, every front agent he has brings in over $300,000 a month, a year to his family, a year to his family. If I did my math right, that's 300,000. So is that call worth it? To get that agent to come to your front line, is it worth it? Think about that. Every person you get in your front line, as it mushrooms, and by the way, it's going to grow out like this at first, then it's going to turn into a diamond shape, and then it's going to turn into a Christmas tree. And on the 22nd of every month, it's going to feel like Christmas. I promise you that. Is that call worth it? Of course it is. Is it worth risking that ego? Of course it is. The more you risk your ego, the bigger your bank account balance gets. You guys, thank you so much for being here. I personally have an attraction call in 1 minute, so I've got to jump. Thank you so much, Shon. Seriously, I'm so impressed. By the way, in many Latin cultures, if you have the same name as somebody, even if it's spelled differently, you call each other Tocayo. So you are my Tocayo, my friend. And thank you so much for just adding so much value today. This is an amazing, amazing call. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of replays of this because, dude, 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.